All right, welcome to ACAB Radio. We are broadcasting live from our new home here at the Center for Science and Wonder. We're brought to you by Food Not Bombs Las Vegas. That's foodnotbombslasvegas.org, and Nevada Cop Block at nvcopblock.org. And we're your hosts. How does this work? Kelly Patterson, King Ron, Jay Leifer. And we didn't do our show last week, so we've got a lot of stuff to cover. No lack of police brutality out there, and just amusing headlines and really fucked up headlines.
We didn't do the show last week because the government censored us, along with Zuckerberg.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Alex Jones wasn't the only one to be silenced. All right, so the first thing we're going to get into, we've got some headlines here for you. Let's see.
Police never fail to amuse.
Yeah. Oh no. I hope it didn't freeze on us here. Trying something new. Here we go. All right. Arizona cop filmed office sex on body cam and stored pornography. Child pornography, actually, right?
Well, there was 64 gigabytes of porn, and at least one of those was a 5-year-old kid.
What?
Yeah. So, and you notice, when they want their body cam on, it's on. They're banging some chick in the police station.
Yeah.
I no problem turning the body cam on then.
I guess, yeah.
I see, now I'm confused. I thought that was downloaded like to a central place, the body cams. So is it on like a...
I think it's downloaded to a place, but it's like within the police stations. I don't think it's like nationwide or anything.
No, but I mean, like, how does he get... So he closed his own body cam?
But he had it on.
But anybody could go as sergeant.
Yeah, because what they do is they go, like, at the end of the day, they'll go in and, like, plug it into somewhere. And normally they have, like,
and
tech guys or whatever, do it, But the thing is, like, this department only has 9 cops, because that's part of the story also. This is it Surprise, Arizona? Is that the name?
It's a little town in Arizona.
It's a little tiny town in Arizona. I think the name is
3,000 people.
But there's 9 cops in the whole police department.
Superior, that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's a surprise then.
yeah, it is.
But so they all 9 of these cops are cops that have been fired from other police departments, and they hired them because they could hire them cheap because they're fucking retreads. And this guy has a history of sexual offenses. He got fired from 2 other police departments, and one of them was for some sort of sex crime.
Right here,
He didn't say what the other one was.
Yeah.
So, surprise, surprise, he's doing fucking sex shit and fucking...
Right, surprise, surprise, and enterprise.
So that's, and they're saving money with that lawsuit that they're fucking paying. Because they're not actually paying for that, the taxpayers are paying for it. So, realistically, the police department is saving money.
Well, I mean, but this is a common thread anyway. I mean, cops get fired for all sorts of offenses, including murder, and just wind up at other departments because there's no effective way of tracking them. And I have a feeling that even if they are tracked, the departments that they're hired into know and just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they don't have like a...
Don't dare and put the citizens at risk.
They need something like the hotels have, like a blacklist. When you get kicked out of a casino for cheating or whatever, you can't go into other casinos. I mean, they should have that for police departments, because I wouldn't be surprised if Officer LaPera
doesn't wind up in Arizona or California
working
or
in
Texas,
Superior,
or any of the others. I mean, you would think they'd do like a cursory background check, or even a Google search on their new hires.
Yeah, well, a lot of them go to these small towns like that, and they don't have the resources, or at least they don't allocate the resources to do background checks, and that's part of the problem. Even though like every police department is supposed to do background checks, pretty much every company you work for is going to do like a basic background check.
Mm-hmm.
These cops who work for the Justice Department can't do a background check on somebody.
So they obviously see it and don't give a shit, right?
I think it's a choice. I think they choose not to.
Maybe they don't.
Right, that's what I was thinking. It's conscious choice.
And one of the things, the other things about that is a lot of this gets blamed on unions, on police unions, and the unions are the reasons why it happens. But it's not that simple. The unions exist basically. It's like a bad cop, good cop kind of situation. they set up these unions to push the unpopular shit so that they can keep their hands clean on it and make it like, oh, the union made us do it. So, you know, so the unions are making them do it, but it's by design. The police department set up those unions. Those unions never fight them on anything that's of substance. They fight them on stuff that the police departments want to do anyway, but they don't want to get the flack for it.
It's kind of like the grand juries, you know what I mean? The cops want to drop the charges, but then they use a grand jury so that they can kind of a cop out, like blame it. Oh, well, we tried.
And it's an extension of it, because when the cops get fired, you know, the department comes in and is like, well, we fired him, but then the union files a grievance and they get reinstated with back pay. And then the department says, oh, well, we couldn't do anything. The union filed a grievance. You know, and any other union, if you worked for the culinary union and you were in there like putting crap in people's food and you got fired, the union's not going to come back and get you your job back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, only the police union would do something like that. So that brings us to the next article here. Public hearing regarding the death of Tashi Brown is scheduled on 9/11.
Yeah. That's a big coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to put it someday when everybody be out saluting their flag and, you know, carrying on about how patriotic they are instead of paying attention to what's happening there.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you are as outraged as we are over this whole scenario, definitely show up. We haven't organized anything, but I mean, should bring signs, you know.
Chalk.
I'm gonna bring some chalk, chalk it up.
We're gonna chalk the fuck out of that place.
Yeah, so it's
And then also bring water if you're going to be out there.
Yeah.
You always need water.
If you want to come and try to clean the chalk up, bring more than 2 gallons of water.
And bring and try not to bring the
You
lazy
got a long day
guys.
ahead of you, because I'll be there all night if you want to try and clean the chalk
Yeah.
up.
We also got our hands on some spray chalk, so good luck. So this is a public, like, fact-finding thing, but what's done is done. They let him off.
Well, the other thing about that is that's a really Orwellian name, and they did that on purpose. It's called the Public Fact-Finding Review. I think there's a little bit longer of a name to it, but that's the basic key parts of it. But the thing is, they only come out and explain to you why they didn't charge the cops when they do that. So they don't put out all the evidence. They put out what evidence fits their decision.
On the narrative, sure.
So basically, that's what they do, is they come out and they create their narrative and they put out what supports that narrative. And then the news, regardless of what you actually hear there, because the family does have a lawyer who can ask questions and stuff, and sometimes some stuff that's a little bit against that narrative comes out. You'll never hear that in the news.
Right.
I've sat in these things and I've heard different things where they brought up issues that conflicts with what the cops said. I've never once saw that in the Review Journal. I've never once saw that on Fox 5 or any of that. They report what the cops tell them to report.
Right, they're mouthpieces for the police department, but we've seen that time and time again. I mean, even with articles that we deal with. And
So that's
the way they
another
portray
reason, if
things,
you have the opportunity to be there, to actually be there, to see that the differing side.
Yeah. To see what really happens and then what gets reported on. We got some more news articles here.
That we do.
If we can get this to work. So you said we're going to be able to ask questions at this thing?
Well, they have a thing where you fill out a sheet and you can ask a question. You can
So it has to
propose
be
a
like
question.
screened.
They look at it and throw the ones that actually mean something in the garbage, and then they ask, you know, the questions that support what they want to say.
Yeah.
It's a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, so if you're asking real questions, I doubt they'll even address it. It should just be like a public thing where you get up to the podium and ask
Everybody
questions.
gets a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the history of it. The coroner's inquest used to be the process that they did to exonerate cops, and it was so transparently bad. It wasn't transparent; it was transparently bad.
Right.
And that was part of it. Was the lack of transparency. And they got a lot of criticism when Eric Scott was murdered, because people were paying attention, and for the first time people watched the coroner's inquest. It was even broadcast on one of those public access TV shows. And people saw the flaws in it, and so they got a bunch of criticism, and they revised it And it still wasn't great, but it was a lot better. And they made it so it was basically a hearing, and the family would be represented. And they had that all approved and ready. And the police union filed a lawsuit and took it all the way to the Supreme Court, the Nevada Supreme Court, and lost. So the city, or the county, spent millions of dollars to defend this process, and then as soon as the election was over, they turned around and let the union write up this public fact-finding bullshit and to approve that, even though, like I said, they spent millions of dollars defending this other process that they created. So what happened is, once the eyes were off and once their election wasn't dependent on it anymore, they created this thing that is worse than the old coroner's inquest. Yeah. Less transparent than it ever was.
I just wanted to bring this up real quick. Henderson had their first officer-involved shooting. It's an interesting article. If you get a chance, check it out.
Yeah, there's so much shooting going on the last couple of weeks. Henderson had to get in on it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, Metro was making all the headlines. While we're on it, might as well, since we're talking about officer-involved shootings, this is body cam footage from OIS 13. What are we at now? Like 18 or some shit? Yeah. We had so many in the last couple
There's been
weeks.
Like 7 the last 2 weeks at least.
Yeah. So this is one of the more controversial ones. We'll play this real quick. So this guy had a Leatherman on him.
With no point on it.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, something
Oh, there it is.
that could have been
released.
Here we go.
I will now show you body-worn camera footage from the incident. To my left.
Okay.
Let me see your head!
Hey, just
I
relax.
have no fear of you.
Just relax.
Now relax.
I just want to talk to you, okay?
You don't need to talk.
Just give me a second to talk to you,
Those
okay?
that have eyes can see.
See what?
Those that have ears can listen.
He's
Just let him
obviously
talk.
having a mental
Nah, I
health
don't want
crisis.
you to talk.
No, I want you to talk.
I don't need to talk. I've given
Hey.
everyone my heart and my mind.
Okay.
Bag right there. Don't try the bean bag.
Smell that sweet.
Put it down.
I don't need nothing.
Do this taser and it's gonna hurt.
I don't have nothing in my hand. I don't need nothing in my hand.
He's got some in his hands right now.
Sounded like
I can see it.
I left the door open.
We're too close for
You
the bean bag.
didn't break
Okay, let's move. Let's back out.
I
Get
left
your
the
taser ready.
door open.
Get your taser ready.
I
For
created
some reason, it
the
worked.
It was the house and
I
military
am
check.
old.
He was sitting there
Give me some
quiet.
room. You get up.
Yeah,
Let
take
me
that
get
taser
up.
up on him, Dave.
You see that?
You want to
You're
get out of the
agitating
emergency?
him from a
I'm gonna
constant.
get out of my
Lethal.
Have a seat. Have a
Hey,
seat.
stop!
I don't
Stop
see
right
any
there.
mess.
Stop
Time
right. Matter of fact,
Have
Yes.
it.
Sit down.
Taser, 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 taser. Keep it on him. 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 Keep it on him.
Hold up. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop it.
shit.
Drop the knife.
Drop the knife.
Crossfire, 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 whatever you want.
Drop
With a
it.
Leatherman.
We got someone inside.
Like a Swiss Army knife.
Taser.
Drop it.
There you go.
Okay, I will now open it up for questions.
Was there probable?
So the other thing about that is they never had the crit team there, which is the people who are supposed
Right.
to deal with people that are having
The
mental
crisis
health issues.
intervention team, yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, they should have sent them in the first place.
Right.
And if they had to, you know, if they had to wait a while for them to get there, then
He
those
wasn't
guys
going
just
anywhere,
wait
yeah.
and keep him in the room and keep him from doing something.
Listen, he was sitting in the chair all quiet when they went in.
Yeah.
They agitated him. I'm sure if they would have just backed out of the room and waited also
Yeah.
for, I mean, not that all these officers are supposed to be trained in crisis intervention training. So what we're seeing in this
Well,
is
that's the other
that
thing,
they
though,
don't
is that-
employ any of the tactics except yelling, hey, calm down, calm down. You know, which is the
Yeah.
last thing you tell people, you know.
So that's the other thing is, like, if they would have just contained him in the room, they could have waited it out. They could have waited till the crit team got there, who
Right.
was trained to deal with this kind of thing. And you know, if he really was like coming at them, they have the beanbag gun there. You know, they can hit him with that. Why they're walking around with equipment that doesn't work? Because they're saying the tasers didn't work. Like, why are they walking around with, you know, malfunctioning equipment? Like, when did they check their equipment to make sure it even works? You know, and that knife is not, like you say, they show a close-up of it in the article that's in the Review Journal, and there's no point on it.
Right.
He couldn't stab the cop, and the cop backed away from him. He wasn't catching up to him. So.
Well, they also have vests. They wear vests which are ballistic vests, but also for any sort of, pointed object, it also deflects them. They outnumbered the guy. What was it? 4 guys in there, 4 to 1.
At least.
He was an elderly gentleman. I'm sure they could have subdued him in a less violent way. You don't need to use bullets every time.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, the cops go out and they paint themselves as these heroes who get themselves, they put themselves into danger to protect other people. But, he went toward the one cop, and, he didn't have a point, so he couldn't run up and stab him, even if, don't even worry about the vest and all that. He would have had to slash him.
Right.
But the cop backed off, and he wasn't catching up to him. There's 3 cops behind him. They
Right.
easily could have walked up and thrown him on the ground and taken the knife away
That's
from him.
it. Well, they could have backed out and closed the door. Hey, backed out and closed the door. Would have been that simple.
Yeah. There's another article we wanted to get into. This right here. Metro Sheriff Joe Lombardo, who, ran on being Mr. Transparent. We all know what happened with 1 October and how it had to go all the way through the Supreme Court to get them to release anything. Here we are again, same thing, Metro not wanting to release records. But we have an idea as to why
It's
they
kind of the
don't
same
want to
thing,
release it.
because with the October 1st thing, they're trying to protect themselves from being liable for stuff and showing how they messed up on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, they didn't release anything publicly about the officers and didn't have any kind of discipline toward any of the officers, including the ones who sat out in the hallway for over an hour, and the ones who hid downstairs. But this thing here is, is sex crimes. And meanwhile, the big scandal right now is that the Vice Squad, who was this celebrated team of people who were out saving women, were actually working with a pimp to eliminate his competition.
Yeah. So they were on the payroll. This guy who was, touted and ran through the media as like their poster boy for stopping sex trafficking and saving all these women. Turns out he's sleeping with the women who were testifying against the pimp, and sleeping with them, sleeping with the prosecutor. So
Yeah, it was a whole...
that's why they don't want to release these records, because they don't want people to see how deep that goes,
Yeah, some names are going to pop up. That's why they don't want to release it.
Yeah. So his name was, I think, Christopher Bachman or something like that. And it's his whole Vice team that's under investigation. And one of the guys that's under investigation was also sleeping with the witnesses. He's also the guy on New Year's Eve
Shot a round off on the strip.
Yeah,
Right.
they were all concerned that there was going to be, problems on the strip, and the only shot fired on the strip was from Metro, and it was from this guy who's under FBI investigation, who shouldn't be working there anymore. But here we are. I think that has something to do with why they want to keep these records secret.
Well, I think it's also part of keeping us rolling. I mean, if they weren't doing this, then there'd be no reason for ACAB radio.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for
you know,
all
we
the
don't,
material.
they don't pay us directly, but they certainly make, enough.
And the
Things
thing
happen.
about that is the history of this isn't just that they're disregarding public records requests. They're disregarding it after after a judge ordered them to comply with it.
Yeah.
And giving out really bad excuses. This one they're saying like, well, those records are kept in different places, so we'd have to look in more than one spot. Even the judge is like, that's bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah. So the judge is ruling on the side of the people, at least saying, no, you need to release it. But whether or not they do, who knows? Contempt of court doesn't really apply to Metro. They just do whatever they want,
No, well, if it gets bad enough, they'll throw somebody under the bus. They'll throw somebody under the bus for this.
Possibly.
So
Maybe it'll be Lion Joe.
that would be kind of interesting.
Or Kevin McMahill. Maybe they'll throw him in And isn't like half his family spokespeople for the police at this point? Metro.
I know his wife.
Yeah.
She's on every other day because they shoot somebody and she has to come out and talk about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, been seeing a lot of her lately. Let's see if we can get these articles working here. We also have an incident that happened, I think it was during EDC, where a veteran was in his car rolling a joint or a blunt, and security from the apartments called the police. Instead of security going and talking to him like, hey, you know, don't roll in your car or something, called the police. 9 cops showed up and assaulted him when he hadn't committed a crime.
Right.
Weed is legal now. You know?
Right. You can't smoke it in public.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use it. You can't use it, you know, while you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
However, that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, he wasn't driving. He was going to meet his buddy at the
Right.
apartment.
Well, yeah, you're allowed to possess up to an ounce.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Regardless of whether you're in public or not, you're allowed to have it on you. And rolling something is not using it. It's
That's correct.
Being in possession of it, so it's
Yeah.
not an illegal thing. So they went up and demanded his ID, which requires that you be detained. And in the video, they actually say, you know, one of them says, you know, it's not legal to roll a joint in your car, which is not true.
That's false, yeah. That's
So-
Metro not knowing the law. Big surprise there. So here, we'll play this for you real quick.
It's actually not. I'm just going to interject. It's not legal to roll a joint in your car, and you have to identify yourself. Okay? So let's cut the bullshit. Let's cut the bullshit.
I'm not cutting shit, dude.
You know what?
Are
Turn
you
around.
put your hands behind your back? Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Put your hands behind your back.
Put your hands behind your back. Now.
Put your hands behind your back.
Stop the car right now.
Take the car.
Wow, dude. All right. Stop. Fucking let me.
Put your hands behind your back.
Hey, God damn it, dude. Are you? I'm not resisting. You fucking.
Put him on the ground. Put him on the ground.
Oh my God, dude. Are you?
Easy hand down. Easy on the head.
This is ridiculous.
Give me some cuffs.
Fuck, man.
You got his phone?
Oh my God.
I'll take this phone.
Are you kidding me right now?
No,
When
sir.
we tell you to do something, you do it. You
I'm
understand?
a
I'm a fucking goddamn American veteran. I don't need to bow down to your fucking tyranny.
All right, well, act
I'm
like
not
one.
suspected of committing a fucking crime.
Yeah, you are actually. You're not allowed to smoke marijuana in public.
I wasn't smoking
Hold on,
fucking
let me
weed.
go.
I wasn't
Doesn't matter.
smoking weed.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a U.S. veteran. At least he did try to make a stand and, you know, assert his rights. He doesn't have to show ID if he hasn't committed a crime. And, you know, here's somebody who fought for his country just to come home and have, you know, blue ISIS trample all over his rights.
well, there's also another issue here. If this is what the police are going to do anytime somebody purchases a marijuana product here legally, why would you come here and purchase anything? If every time you walk out of a dispensary with that product, that police are going to come and beat the fuck out of you. I don't see it helping that industry. I
Yeah.
see it as hurting it.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I wouldn't take the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're opportunistic is the thing, so they'll use whatever opportunity they can and whatever excuse they can. So I'm sure if he was in Summerlin, they wouldn't be worried about it. You know,
You know,
that's the difference. Like he's somebody they wanted to fuck with. You know,
Yeah.
and
They
or
are.
he was in an area that they wanted to fuck with somebody. And you know, that's one of the things about that is so there was 9 cops there.
Yeah.
So first of all, which one of them was the good cop? You know?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you know, when they had the more cops tax, when they wanted to hire more cops, they had all these people from Summerlin that were complaining, you know, when somebody breaks into my house, I can't get a cop to show up until an hour later, and that's why, because they're in poor neighborhoods fucking with people for non-crimes.
Right.
You know, they're not there when there's
They're
a
low.
robbery or there's something else. You know, they'll get there when they get there for that. But if you roll a joint in your car, even though it's not illegal, they're gonna send 9 guys to beat you up
Yeah. It's
in certain neighborhoods anyway.
right.
So, a friend of ours, Josh Martinez, interviewed this guy. His name's Josh Martin. I'd recommend checking that out because Josh Martin brought up a good point comparing this response where they're all gun-ho against an unarmed veteran who hasn't committed a crime, 9 of them take him down, versus what happened on 1 October when they're below the shooter and not doing a damn thing. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a good comparison that he made. And also Josh Martinez brings up some good points. So if you have a chance, check out that interview.
Yeah, October 1st they got there when they felt like it too.
Right.
You know? If that guy would have had a joint, it would...
Oh, yeah,
They would
have smelled pot coming to that room.
Yeah.
They would have been in there like gangbusters.
Yeah.
So this software is acting up, but I'm going to give it a shot, see if we can get it working here. There was an article about Food Not Bombs and Circle Park. If you have a chance, check out pulseoftheparkway.com. They wrote this article and another article. So if you get a chance, check that out. Yeah, looks like it's freezing. So there's other stuff we wanted to talk about as well.
And all
One
these
of them
links are going to
being-
go up, right?
Yeah, we're gonna post all these links
So
for
you
you
get all
on
of those,
the page. Yeah. There was also an incident in Baltimore where we have some footage for you guys to check out. Yeah, this was some bullshit.
For what? Touch me. Oh, yo, what the fuck? Hey, yo, what the fuck,
I got all that. I got all that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm not touching them. Hey, yo, you see this shit, yo? Hey, yo. I got all that, damn it. We got all that. I got all that. I got all that. Hey, yo, what the fuck you just do on this one, yo?
Yeah, so that, I guess that guy, check out the article, we posted it. That guy was being targeted by the same cop he had a run-in
Yeah,
Right
he
there
had a
earlier.
previous
prior.
incident
Yeah.
where they charged him with assault, which probably means he got beat up then too, because that's what they do to justify beating people up, is they charge them with assault.
Right, resisting.
And so even if that's true, even if he assaulted that cop before, that doesn't give the cop a right to just pick him out on the street and beat him up.
Right, every time he sees him, yeah. Which he probably does, right? Fucks with him every opportunity.
And that guy, regardless of what happened before, and regardless of what happened before, even in that video,
This is about the bait trucks in Chicago.
I liked when he was looking into the sun during the solar eclipse.
Police across the country routinely use bait traps to try to catch thieves in the act. They set up a tempting bike or a car, and then they watch. But in Chicago last week, the tactic backfired.
So y'all see this? Listen, this is live, uncut, unedited. Bait truck.
Charles McKenzie was born and raised in Inglewood in southwest Chicago. So when he saw an unmarked 18-wheeler being parked and reparked around his neighborhood, he knew something was up.
They send people up with this truck right there.
So this is where you were when you were taking the video with your phone, right?
Yes.
So you're seeing, what are you seeing?
As I pulled up and approached the situation, I saw the officer putting the young man in the car, you know, and I was standing right here, and then I got closer to right here to see what everything was going on. They come
Y'all parked an empty Nike truck with Nike boxes in there in the ghetto.
What Charles caught on video was a new program the police had nicknamed Operation Trailer Trap. Police from Norfolk Southern Railways loaded the truck with Nike Air Force One sneakers and Christian Louboutin shoes. 3 people were arrested for theft in what police call a sting, but neighbors call a setup. Chicago PD said they were only brought in to make arrests, and the charges have since been dropped.
Hey, you don't think that's some bullshit on me?
We always suspect that the police stage crime in our area, but we're never able to prove it or document it on film. But this particular time, I knew I got it. Live, uncut. Uncut, people, I got it. Y'all know this script. In the black community, we're over police and we have the most crime. So you would think if we have the most police in our community, we should have less crime. But that's not the case. Them young boys gonna jump on this boy, they're gonna be in trouble.
The timing of Operation Trailer Trap came right after a weekend in which more than 70 people were shot. and at least 12 people died.
So it's up to me and my command staff to try and repair those relationships in the community. And we're making progress.
Police have said that they need the community's help to solve those crimes. But the bait trucks seem to have hurt police's goal to gain the community's trust.
Since the people have seen bait trucks,
Right.
what do you think that's done just around the neighborhood?
Oh man, the antennas have went up like, hey, we can't trust the cops. We can't trust them. Why? Because the cops preach transparency, but you practice something else. In the city of Chicago, we have an 83% murder rate that's unsolved. That same energy could have been used into finding the criminals, the murderers.
Norfolk Southern says the bait truck operation was aimed at catching people who've been stealing cargo, including guns and ammunition, from a nearby rail yard.
But my whole thing is, if these crimes are happening on your property, why are you bringing it into our community? If you gonna run a sting, be on the freight yard, in y'all yard, and on the railroad tracks, and wait on them. They're gonna come. When you pull up a truck in front of an impoverished community, and they see that it's an opportunity, come on, who's not gonna take it? These people are in survival mode.
Crazy. Yeah, they're crazy. They try to set us up in our neighborhood. Yeah, that's what they do, man.
The videos that were posted online prompted so much outrage that Norfolk Southern eventually apologized, saying that they don't plan to use that method in the future.
The railroad police have apologized, and they've said that they regret that they've made people feel that they couldn't trust police.
Well, let me say this to the railroad, and you can take this message back to them. Are you sorry because you got caught? Or are you really sorry that you should have never done it?
They left a bait truck.
Yeah, so that's the thing about that is, first of all, you're talking about a really poor neighborhood. So there's people there who might not even be able to afford a pair of shoes.
Right.
So you put a $200 pair of shoes out there. Like, there's people who might steal that just because they need a pair of shoes. But really, like a $200 pair of shoes, if you don't have money, that's a big fucking temptation.
And they
meanwhile, they only caught 3 people. Out of that whole neighborhood, they caught 3 people. So you can see how horribly bad the crime is that they caught 3 people out of that whole neighborhood. Which you could probably go to a middle-class neighborhood.
I'm sure if you drop that truck off in Summerlin, in Summerlin's a very wealthy neighborhood here, there's a lot of executives that live there. Those guys are experts in stealing.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing.
So
they're not bothered
the
with
entire
$200
truck
shoes.
would disappear.
But they're not bothered with $200 shoes because they're busy raiding people's bank accounts for thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Right.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's the other thing. They're not bothered with that petty crime because they're busy.
But those guys are experts. If they knew how to get rid of that truck, they would be.
Yeah, they're busy paying for down at the Las Vegas Convention and Visitor Authority, paying for their personal trips on airplanes with gift cards from their taxpayers. And then getting a $350,000 retirement fund.
Well, yeah, for sure.
But the other thing, so that's if you're somebody who's really poor, that's a big temptation. And so, you might need money for food, and then that $200 could buy you food for a week. So,
exactly.
If you leave it right in front of somebody, it's not unusual that somebody in a really poor neighborhood might actually just go ahead and take that.
Listen,
either way, it's entrapment.
It is.
And the thing on there that the guy made a good point about is, the excuse for that was people are going into the train station and stealing stuff. So why not sit at the train station and wait for those people to come along
and
go
bring
get
it
those
into
people.
their neighborhood.
And then, of course, they had to drop in. There was guns and ammunition also, missing, which I have a feeling that's not the case there, because you would hear that. I mean, if there's
I remember hearing about that.
There's tons of guns and ammunition on the street that they failed to protect.
Yeah.
How do you send shit like that and not protect it?
Yeah, there was a whole shipment of guns and ammunition that was stolen from the yard. It's pretty crazy. I remember reading about that.
Which they were probably shipping to cops.
Yeah, who knows where it was
isn't
going.
That the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms should be looking into that, not your local police force if there's.
Either way, if they want to stop that kind of stuff, that's not how you go about doing it.
Yeah.
Bringing Nikes into a poor neighborhood and it's entrapment, man. I don't know how that
and
can be legal.
stuff that falls off of trains and trucks a lot of times, it's not outsiders that do that. You can't get crates out. I grew up in Brooklyn on the docks, kind of, and a lot of stuff used to find its way through the neighborhoods, and it wasn't from some kids running there and stealing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm gonna try to pull up a couple more articles for you guys. The software is not really cooperating, but we'll see what we can get going here.
It's Zuckerberg again.
Yeah, they're trying to shut us down.
Man, if anybody'd like to make a donation to
replace Zuckerberg,
yeah,
we're gonna write,
or to ACAB Radio to help us upgrade our equipment.
We're starting an ACAB book.
So this is in New York, a child's lemonade stand. Let's see if we can get this video to play. I doubt it, but anyways, it was a video of talking about what this lemonade stand was raising money for. They were raising money for childhood cancer. It was started by a kid who has since died of cancer, and this other kid opened a lemonade stand to contribute to that cause. And the reason it was shut down is because they were doing it from their front porch or whatever, and their porch is right next to the county fair or city fair. So the vendors at the fair complained that this kid was undercutting their price and cutting into their profits. So they sent in the New York Health Department.
So they couldn't compete with that little kid.
Yeah.
Copying the shit.
Yeah, I'm sure, you're selling thousands and thousands of cups.
Just crazy.
To be fair, it was really sweet lemonade.
Yeah.
I mean, what's more American than, a kid with the lemonade stand, and here comes Big Brother, the state, coming in and shutting it down. It's
what's more American than having Big Brother coming in and shutting down a kid's
Putting
lemonade stand?
On the lemonade stand.
Yeah.
Hey, I see what you did there. Yeah, that's crazy. And this isn't the first time I've heard about this. I mean,
they do the lemonade stand scam all the time.
Yeah. They're constantly shutting down lemonade stands. I've seen kids getting tickets for mowing lawns.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to do that, go around and rake leaves and mow lawns just, for some extra dough.
But you need a business permit now.
Yeah, you need a permit to do that kind of stuff.
You might
now.
make $25.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So this looks like this froze up on us here.
Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah. What else we got? We got some events coming up, yeah?
We should have an event coming up on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Quick, let's pull out our handy dandy event
Radical
calendar.
Movie Nights coming on. And actually, the movie we're showing is called The Interrupters. And for all those people that are always crying about why social justice minded people and they especially like to focus in on Black Lives Matter, people don't care about crime within the communities, then they should come watch this movie, because that's what it's all about. Is a group of people who go out into the community and intercede and stop people that are getting ready to fight or having some sort of violent interaction, to stop it from becoming that fight and prevent it from being a situation where the police respond and murder people.
Right.
So it's people going into their community and interceding in what people like to call black-on-black violence, and violence within poor neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Another event today, actually. The TPS Journey for Justice. I want to welcome them Vegas style. It's going to be at, you can decorate your car, but it's at the Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign. So today, 4:30.
At the end of the strip.
Yeah, if you can make it down there, support TPS holders and their fight to remain in the U.S. I think that's all I got.
And TPS holders are the people that it was like put on hold that they would not be deported.
Targeted for deportation.
So it's an immigration issue,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously there's a lot of that right now.
I think that's it, guys. Yeah.
I think we covered a lot today.
Food Not Bombs, Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday at 11:30.
Yep, I'd like to thank all our neighbors for coming out and helping us with that. If they're not there actually on the ground, they sit in their car and they watch to support, and we don't mind that either.
Also, check out the page Water in Solidarity. We're looking for water donations. We're going to be going out on Thursday to hand out ice cold bottled water and snacks to those that need it most in this summer heat. So we could use some donations if that sounds like something you can get behind. Check out the page and let us know if you'd want to volunteer or donate water.
You know, and here, one thing. With our new digs here, we have the opportunity to actually invite people into the studio while we're podcasting. So if you'd like to come and join us for our next week podcast, just shoot us an email or a message, and we'll give you all the information. You could sit in and join us while we do the wonderful things that we do here.
We'd like to have an official mosh pit that we could shift to during slow moments.
Exactly.
Time.
So bring proper shoes, closed shoes, no open-toed, no flip flops.
But you can wear toe shoes, so you can bring your Vibrams with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, we wanted to mention Stilt Galloway, who is one of the persons that was in what happened in Vegas. He was somebody that was racially profiled, assaulted by the police, and falsely arrested.
Sexually assaulted by the police.
Yeah.
He absolutely unbelievable.
So yesterday, he unfortunately had health issues, and he had a heart problem. And yesterday was a year since the day he died. And I met him during the time that we were putting out the movies, and he's a great guy. And it's a shame that he's not with us anymore, but we wanted to acknowledge him. And
sympathies with the family as they go through the 1 year memorial of his passing. So you were a good guy, Silk. You really were.
And if you haven't seen the movie, you should see it, so you can see that portion of it, because it's a really good part of the movie, because he was smart enough to have a GoPro in his car and to turn that on when they stopped him, and he has them on video saying that they have to find something to justify the arrest when they're trying to find pot or something in his car, and got caught on video discussing that they had to do that in order to justify assaulting and falsely arresting him.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. You can catch us next week, same time, same place if you want to come and check it out live. All right.